Hello and welcome back to another Swolosmo video. Today we're going to be going over the RPO glitches. Now these glitches have been completely banned in competitive play just because of how good they are, but more importantly, how they beat the meta. Personally, I don't think they should have been banned. There was a lot of outreach over this ban in general, but it just shows how effective they truly are at beating the meta to the point that it made so many pro players complain because they couldn't beat it with their meta defenses that they got it banned. So I'm gonna show you how to run it and make sure that you can have fun beating the meta online again. Now let's get straight into it. Okay, so I'm in the Kansas City Chiefs offensive playbook, and the play I'm gonna call first is the RPO Read Flat Wheel. The Kansas City Chiefs playbook has two of the RPO glitches. It has the one in trio offset weak and gun deuce close. I'm starting with the one in gun deuce close because it's the most popular and it's the most, punishing for the meta defenses. So I'm gonna call the most meta defense in the game first, the nickel over Storm Brave. I guess the double over, you could call it. And on offense, I'm gonna actually call the RPO Read Flat Wheel. So stop, what you wanna do is read who the read defender, the R defender, and the pass defender is. So if you know that the pass defender is the safety, that basically means that the wheel will be wide open. So I'm just gonna throw this wheel for pretty much a 5 to 10 yard gain. But what most people do, as you can see, I'm able to throw the wheel really easily for a 5-10 yard gain, regardless. That's just how it is, just because it's coming from the safety, right? However, what most people do is they will press. And when they press, the pass defender becomes the corner. And since that's the case, you're actually able to throw this instantly and gain 15, 20, 25 yards. Also, if you want to just throw a touchdown, it just takes a little bit longer and there's a higher risk of a legal man downfield. What you can do is actually throw this circle receiver. Since the pass defender is the corner, you can actually just throw the circle receiver for an instant touchdown against that cover 0 blitz. What most people do though is they will just instantly throw the wheel route here, right? So I'm just gonna press and they'll actually just highball it. The reason they'll do this is because this is the most effective way to throw it, and it's also the least punishing. So let's say your opponent switches to like a zone coverage that's really good. So if they do switch to this really good zone coverage or a different type of defense, you're able to throw R1 and highball it very safely. You don't have to worry about throwing a pick, right? So if the read defender or the pass defender are doing some things that are unpredictable for you, you can just highball it to R1 fairly safely, right? I'm gonna do it one more time. So I didn't highball it there. But in general, if you highball it, it just makes the pass a lot safer. But in general, what you can do is you can also highball it to circle. So I'm just gonna highball it to circle instantly and go for that touchdown. So if you'd like to just make these passes a little bit safer or get them away from the user defender, you can feel very safe just doing that. The other thing you can do is actually still throw triangle. It's also a fairly safe read. You just throw it like that. And the only thing about it, although it's a safe read, it's not the most effective read in that you're not going to gain many yards from it. So in general, I'd focus on throwing the circle receiver. I think that one's the best way to score, but you can also throw R1. R1 sometimes is an instant touchdown too. It's all about the placement of the pass defender, right? So in this case, I'm going to baseline press, right? So I think the pass defender should switch spots. So the pass defender is now the slot corner, and there's another corner outside of him. That should mean that I'm able to throw R1, raid over someone, and score. That just happens. Sometimes Travis Kelce drops the ball if you throw it a little too early or before he becomes a eligible receiver. So I'm going to try throwing it one more time. I'm going to highball it this time. And once again, even though it was covered, I didn't get punished for it, right? So that kind of concludes the gun deuce close. The only thing I'm going to show it against is the also meta cover 3 sky. A lot of people like running this against tight sets because outside thirds are so good. But what you can do against this is still throw the wheel and keep going for pretty much 10, 15 yards, 20 yards, or possibly a touchdown. It's still very difficult to defend from even plays like cover 3 sky. So zone coverages are also fairly cooked against this. So I'm just going to throw R1 and the curl flat comes in, the other guys go in, and that's because they're the pass defender, right? So here we are, cover 3 sky. I'm gonna press, just like everyone does. Let's just read. So right here, you can tell the pass defender is that outside corner. We should be able to throw R1 and just keep going. right? So it's a very punishing RPO. It beats zone, it beats man, and I will show you counters in another video. So the next one we're going to be going over is the RPO Read Bubble. Now the RPO Read Bubble is just as effective, if not better, than the gun deuce close. You don't get as many yards, but it's more difficult to beat. So, and I think that's more important. I'd rather my opponent, it's almost more suffocating, if you guys know what I mean, right? So I'm going to call something like overload blitz, right? I believe this is a cover 0 blitz. So right here in the overload blitz, you notice the pass defender is that outside corner right there, and the read defender is the defender, the defensive lineman. So what that basically means is the pass defender will be responsible for the circle receiver. So if they pass commit, which I will do, I'm gonna pass commit now, then he's gonna target that circle receiver. However, the reason this is so good is because that middle receiver, Juju Smith-Schuster here, is blocking the pass defender regardless. So what that basically means is you can throw this no matter what. So right here we got caught, a lot of guys bumped into each other. I'm gonna call a play where there's not as much traffic, I guess you could call it. Something more you'll see online. Let's call Overstorm Brave again. So in Overstorm Brave, let's see. So right there you see the pass defender is the outside man, the read defender is the inside man. Now this is even better for us because the read defender will always run either to the quarterback or the running back. So on defense, we see that he's manned up, and I could even pass commit, but the reason it doesn't matter is because he's the read defender. Because he's the read defender, you'll notice he will actually just run right inside. So I'm able to throw this. If he picks up a block, that's an easy touchdown for us. So I'm gonna go in instant replay and kind of explain it even further. So despite me pass committing and doing everything, this read defender is going to go inside and play for the quarterback or the running back. And you can throw the circle receiver regardless. He might look at him for a moment, but he will never actually play it. And you'll also notice the pass defender is going to get blocked. So I'm going to call this exact same play. The pass defender is on the middle receiver, and the read defender is on the receiver that's on the bubble. So regardless, I can throw this. He's always going to run to the right since he's the read defender. He's responsible for the quarterback or the running back. On top of that, you'll also notice that the run is fairly good. And if you actually read him, you can just go for the run, right? Just another way, the run is still really, really good. I definitely recommend running this to the wide side, just so your receiver has a little bit more space. So just if the hash is on the right side of the field, I'd have the trips aligned on the left, right? That's just a small little thing you can do. Here's another thing. A smart player will obviously want to put a zone out there. Okay, so now X is on a hard flat and I'm pass committing. But the same concept applies. Because that guy is the read defender, he is still going to go for the run, leaving us for an even easier touchdown, right? So even if they're in a zone, they pass commit, they do everything they can, if that read defender is the slot cornerback, you're screwed. Okay, but what if I don't man align and I run something like cover 3 with hard flats pass committed, right? Okay, let's take a look at who our defenders are. So in this case, the pass defender is the inside third from the safety, right? And the read defender is once again the defensive lineman. Even though I pass commit, the inside third won't actually run towards this circle receiver because he is an inside third, leaving us for a touchdown if we get good blocks. Maybe you could run honorary lineman, but a really large gain. So that's what happens when you run this. So in zone, they're kind of screwed. So let's call cover 2. And this is why I think this one's just a little bit better. So the normal cover 2. So in this case, the read defender is the outside corner, and the pass defender is the linebacker. Now, since the linebacker's in a mid read, it doesn't matter that he's the pass defender because he's in a mid read. So the way to stop this, I'm going to kind of preview it, is you want the pass defender to be you want to be pass committed number 1, and you want the pass defender to be manned up on him, right? That's just a small thing. But as long as that's not the case, so right there, you're able to cover it. So that's a great example here. So you notice that this guy, this is just a small little preview of how to stop it. But since he's not the pass defender and he's not the read defender, it doesn't matter. As long as he's not the read defender and he's manned up, he'll actually cover it really easily. And you're pass committed, of course. But regardless, it's a very specific way to beat it, making it that much more difficult to stop. And since this formation has a lot of good passing plays, you can take advantage of the fact that one receiver is always manned up in a certain way, right? All right, that concludes trio offset week. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, so now I'm in the spread playbook at the top of the screen with the Seattle Seahawks. Now, on defense, I'm going to run the same concepts. It also has, I'm not going to go over it. It also has an RPO Read Bubble with the same concept as the gun trio offset week in the Kansas City Chiefs playbook. You can run it the same way. However, it's not as good because it's not a trips, and the pass defender is usually in a good position, right? So keep that in mind. It's not that great. But the real reason I'm in the spread playbook is because of this play in doubles offset week called RPO Orbit Bubble. And I'm going to run it to the wide side. I'm going to call the very meta cover one hole or overstorm brave. I'll actually call overstorm brave. I don't have it, but we'll call cover one hole here. So in this case, you notice the pass defender is the linebacker. And in this case, this linebacker is in a 3-rec. Since this linebacker is in a 3-rec, we can quickly throw this, and that square is going to be wide open. And the reason this is also so good is for another way it beats man coverage is because the defenders, despite even if you pass him it, they will freeze and wait for you to cross the line of scrimmage or catch the ball in order to react, right? Usually they'll run straight down, but since your receivers are on like small stems, they just sit there and they wait for it, right? So if I call something like a blitz, let's call overload blitz like this, right? Which is also very meta. Since this pass defender is on a blitz and nothing else, you'll notice that square gets very, very open to the point where we can likely score. And that's just a way that it defends. That's just a way that it beats the meta so well in particular, right? And you also notice that there's no read defender. So in this case, we can also just hand the ball off, and as long as they don't get an instant shed, it's usually a fairly good run, right? So I'm gonna call it one more time. There's no read defender on the field, so we have no one to read. Let's just snap it and hand it off, right? Doesn't seem like the best run in the world. That's why I recommend the bubble a little bit more, but just keep it in mind. Anyways, I've talked a lot. That concludes the video on my favorite RPO glitches, the reasons that it was banned in the MCS. But in general, those are the RPO glitches that will kill the meta. And if you enjoyed, leave a like. And what I always like to say, if I helped you today, I can help you in all my other videos. So definitely give those a check out and hit the sub. The newer the video, usually the more relevant the concept. Anyways, have a great day and thank you for watching.